So when Infinity War came out, I had to really think about that movie. It made me feel kind of weird, and I noticed that so many people really liked it. A lot of my friends were saying like it was one of the best movies. Period. It's the best thing Marvel's ever done. A lot of big critics were saying that stuff too. A lot of reviewers were saying this movie's like perfect, saying it's so good. In my opinion, when I left the theater, it made me say, "Man, I really wanted to see the conclusion. I don't like this whole part one, part two thing, but to be fair, I'm not going to be upset because I know there's going to be a part two coming." And Endgame is that part two. And so when I walked out of the theater for Endgame, I was like, man, that was a good movie. That was awesome. And to me, I mean, I don't want to say too much because even if I say something like, even if I describe it vaguely or say like it is like this good for because of this, it might give too much away. I mean, the reality is that Chris Evans said any like that he said he doesn't know how any movie he doesn't know how they can make a trailer for the movie because like any bit of information would spoil it. And the funny thing is the trailers for Endgame barely show anything. And I mean even when you watch the trailers and then you watch the movie, even when you see the scenes from the trailers, it's the context and the situation is like literally not what you thought it was at that time. Like it really is like very different. So there's only like one part I think that's similar, and I'm not even gonna say what it is. There's like one part of the trailer that I think actually linked up to what I thought, but even then, the context of that situation is not how I thought it was going to get there. So basically, I do want to. The thing is that when I talked about when I made my review for Infinity War, I managed to make it a spoiler-free review, and I basically was like, I don't want to make a spoiler version. I think it's pointless. There's no point because it's just me saying like, you know, it's a spoiler review is not like a recommendation. A spoiler review is we've already watched the movie. Now, what do you think? Now, for me here, I think I'm more willing to talk about spoilers because with like seriously, if you've seen the movie, you already understand that you your expectations are like completely changed right off the bat. Like I did not predict like there's some things that you might have predicted that happen. I actually predicted three things at the end, but the beginning and the middle was not what I expected at all. But to be fair, I knew the movie was going to be 3 hours long, and I was like, okay, this movie can't be just people moping for an hour and 30 minutes and then preparing to fight and then going to fight. And the funny thing is that it actually isn't that at all. But some of that what I said is true. It's like some of that is true, but not all of it. So I'm not going to say what's real and what's for sale. But I will eventually. I think I'm going to let a little bit of time pass and say if you haven't seen it yet, you really should not watch this video. I'm about to talk about spoilers, and it's mainly because there is some things I want to talk about this movie, but I also want to compare it to Infinity War. Mainly because a lot of people are telling me they actually liked Infinity War more than Endgame. And not only were people telling me that, but then I saw some like critics like Red Letter Media and other people talk about it and say Infinity War was better and this wasn't as good, but it was still a good movie and a satisfying conclusion. I realize that when I say that I like Endgame more than Infinity War, I'm basically saying that I like Return of the Jedi more than Empire Strikes Back. Which, if you said to a Star Wars fan, they'd be like, "What are you talking about?" But let me just say this: most Star Wars fans would agree. Well, they still like Return of the Jedi. They still think it's a good movie. It's just Empire Strikes Back is just like the best thing ever. But I don't think it's as comparable to Empire Strikes Back as everyone likes to make it out to be. I think that Infinity War takes that idea of losing to the villain way further than Star Wars does. Where in Infinity War, there's basically no hope. There's basically like, I mean, Thanos wins and he wins conclusively to the point where that's why the movie worked so well. It was so shocking because the movie kind of led up to the idea that this it could have been the movie could have just been that like like Thor could have just killed Thanos before he snapped. This character could have done this. This character could have done that. Like there was multiple situations where Thanos almost lost. Like for example, a lot of people blame Star Lord for everything because if Star Lord didn't wake Thanos up, then he wouldn't have. They would have gotten the glove. They would have got the stones, and then they possibly could have defeated Thanos. So for one thing, Doctor Strange. I think Doctor Strange. I think people don't. I don't know why people say Doctor Strange isn't OP. I think Doctor Strange is the most powerful character, and I am counting Captain Marvel and Thor, and I think that Doctor Strange could probably take on Thanos alone. The problem is that um, he has the Infinity Stones and blah blah blah, so it's going to be really hard to fight someone who can manipulate reality on your own. And also, Thanos is a very tough, strong villain, but I do think the combined efforts of Drax, Spider-Man, Iron Man, and Doctor Strange would be able to kill Thanos, especially with an assassin like Nebula there, who could probably just easily slit his throat or something. So yeah. And then, yeah, I mean, I blame, do I blame Thor for not killing Thanos in Infinity War? No, because, I mean, he stabbed him. I mean, he didn't, like, what did you expect? Like, Thor's just trying to hit him. You don't want to aim for the head when you're just trying to hit someone. But one quick beheading would have, obviously been better. But yeah, either way, yeah, no one defeated Thanos. No one did. No one could. It was too big of a threat. And also, the Avengers were completely split up. They weren't working as a cohesive team. They were just trying to make it work somehow, and they were not prepared at all. And so, basically, everything was against them. Bruce Banner couldn't Hulk out when he needed to. Everything was against them in this situation. But what I'm basically saying is that movie was good because Thanos was the main character. And I think that people don't like Endgame as much because Thanos really isn't the main character. And if you think you're going to get the next chapter of the Thanos saga, you think you're going to get, the exciting conclusion to the adventures of Thanos, this movie goes right back to being an Avengers movie. Captain America Civil War, a lot of people consider that to be not so much a Captain America movie, but more of an Avengers movie. And I always kind of saw it as it's like an Avengers movie where Captain America is the main character instead of Iron Man. Because in most Avengers 1 and 2, Iron Man is really like the main character and the rest are like his team. Which is fine because it's like, every character is important and gets screen time and character development in those movies. But in Captain America 3 Civil War, that really felt like if Captain America was the main character in an Avengers movie, this is what it would be like. And it was really cool. And he even fought he fought Iron Man. That was the big guy. He fought Iron Man. He had to beat his friend Iron Man, which is an important moment for Captain America's character because, Captain America's a very moral, righteous character, and Iron Man has, Iron Man, I think, is also a very moral character, but has a different way of doing things. That's just all it really was about. And Captain America's he's just more based in his own personal morality. Endgame is basically this is a real Avengers movie. This is not Captain America's movie featuring the Avengers. This is not Thanos' movie featuring the Avengers like Infinity War. Endgame is the real last hurrah with these characters. And that is kind of why Infinity War sets it up to be they take a lot of characters out of the screen. They kill them off in Infinity War. That way we can focus on these last few characters who probably aren't getting any more movies anytime soon, if not at all. Because, now it's going to be more focused on the next batch of heroes. It's going to be more focused on characters like Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, Captain Marvel, maybe more Ant-Man, and of course there's going to be one more Guardians movie. But we're going to get new heroes, and we're going to see old heroes start to walk away. We're not going to, but what was fun about this movie was it delivered the last final hurrah much better, in my opinion, than in Infinity War. Infinity War had multiple teams that all did big epic battles, and it was awesome. Like that fight at Wakanda was super awesome. But this movie featured every character from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, every single one of them. None of them were spared. And when you first watch Infinity War, you're impressed by like seeing all of them. But Endgame brings all of the ones that weren't in them, like Ant-Man and Wasp are big. Well, Wasp isn't like a big part of this movie because she's dead. But Ant-Man is a big part of this movie. He's one of the main characters, part of the main team throughout the adventures. But the final battle is just, it's such a big, super huge event. And I know I basically just spoiled something, because I'm saying like every character is in this movie. I know that's a spoiler. So again, I'm hoping you're not watching this if you haven't already seen it. Luckily, I'm a kind of a smaller channel, as in I get like 3 views on some of my videos sometimes. If it's not talking about Dragon Ball Fighters or Super Smash Brothers, those videos that I enjoy making that aren't about those two things don't get many views. So I'm hoping to God that you're just trying to have a conversation about this versus being sold on it. But in my opinion, the final battle was just everything that Endgame or everything that Infinity War should have had. But the difference is that Infinity War shouldn't have had it because I knew walking into it that it was part one, and that was the Thanos movie. It was a movie about the villain, which was very brave. It was very bold, and it made for an excellent ass movie. But for me, I wanted to see Endgame. So basically, for me, when I saw Infinity War, I was like, okay, this is setting up the movie that I want to see. Whereas a lot of people were like super satisfied with what they got with Infinity War, and when they saw Endgame, they were like, yeah, I mean, this is the only logic for them. They're saying what I'm saying about Infinity War, but they're thinking about Endgame, where they're saying, yeah, this was the next logical conclusion. At the end of the day, Thanos can't win. The bad guy has to lose, and I mean, like it all adds up, and everything was satisfying. So I think at the end of the day, whichever movie you like more, it doesn't matter. Both are good, you know. And I mean, the scene with oh my gosh, I'm not okay. We're gonna get into spoilers. It's been 12 minutes, so let's get to the real nitty gritty. And I'm gonna have to put a timestamp in the description for people who want me to just straight up start talking about the spoilers. Um, there's been things that have been hinted at for a long time. So in the comics, Captain America does lift Thor's hammer. He temporarily becomes Thor at one point. So the idea that Cap was fighting with the hammer, honestly, when Thor regained his hammer from the past, I had a sneaking suspicion that Cap would definitely use it. But it was also just badass that Thor had both of his hammer and his axe. That was awesome. So, yeah, that was super cool. But no, when Cap got it, it just felt like the most amazing like upgrade for Captain America, where it was just like he wasn't quite a thunder god, but he was wielding the powers. He had Thor's lightning, and he could throw it and recall it. He was worthy, and so it was super super cool to see Captain America, who's this normal Earthling, basically have like a Super Saiyan transformation moment. And while maybe Thor is beyond that, and even Iron Man is like much stronger than what Captain America was doing in this movie, it was just really nice to see this character who was based, really grounded in reality, who's basically his only superpower was that was a super soldier, which means he was really, really strong, you know, and, basically just, a really agile person, blah, blah, blah. So he was just like a really, really strong guy. And to see him wield the powers of a god, maybe not like, a god, but, Thor, the powers of Thor, and go from literally being not an Asgardian, but just a mortal man who could wield those powers. And not because he's a strong guy. It has nothing to do with the fact he's a strong guy, but because Steve Rogers as a hero is worthy. That to me is really awesome and inspiring. So to me, that's been something I've been wanting for a while, but I kind of knew that there's no way they could just do that in a movie. And I was really hoping like this is the last time, this is the final hurrah. And I was like, yeah, but I don't know if it'll be the same if he's just holding the axe, because the hammer is significant. The hammer means something. So once Thor recalled the hammer and brought it with him, and I knew he brought it with him, and then when he pulled up with an axe in one hand, the hammer in the other hand, I was like, oh yeah, like I knew the hammer was there because Thor brought it with him. But also, it's like, yeah, it's just seriously, it's like I knew what was going on. The second Thor brought the hammer with him and he pulled it back out, I was like, Cap's gonna use it. Cap's gonna use it. And when he used it, he didn't just use it for like a little bit. It was literally a permanent upgrade, and it was amazing. It was literally, and that's so. Here's what I'm saying. When I'm saying that this movie is, I like it more than Infinity War. That's because this is the expectation that I had really high. These are things I really wanted for a long time, and seeing like, and also I wanted to see a movie where literally every Marvel hero fought, and they created the situation where basically the entire stakes of Infinity War were brought back, but even stronger because this time Thanos' entire army was there, and it was an all-out war zone versus. So the big battle in Infinity War, the big battle in Infinity War, yeah, not all of Thanos' minions were alive. He didn't have like all of his ships and everything. It wasn't like his true capable power. It was like Thanos. It was like the foot soldiers. Some of his elite people were still alive, and Thanos had some of the Infinity Stones, which he would use to like manipulate reality and be overpowered and stuff. And of course, in this movie, it's strange because Thanos should not be able to defeat all of the heroes alone, and without the stones, he really shouldn't be able to defeat some of them one on one. I believe that Iron Man, Thor, maybe not Captain America, even with Captain America's hammer, Captain America would probably have to fight even with Captain America with Thor's hammer, he would have to still fight very, very smartly to beat him. I don't think it's actually that possible. But I do think that Iron Man, Thor, would be able to defeat him, especially with the axe that Thor had. I mean, that should just be able to just cut him. He should be able to just behead him again. He should be able to just cut him up, just like he did in Infinity War. So, yeah, to me, I agree with that. Yeah, Thor, Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange. These characters should probably be able to defeat Thanos one-on-one without Infinity Stones. Though Doctor Strange normally uses a Time Stone. Yeah, I'm just saying, these characters should be able to do these things. You know. And then when it comes to, well, let's talk about this is probably my favorite scene of any Marvel movie ever. And not just because it's like a big epic battle, but it's the scene where Captain America, his shield is broken. He's basically had the shit beat out of him by Thanos. He can't defeat Thanos like one-on-one by himself. Even with the hammer, he just can't do it. And Thor's and Iron Man have been knocked down out of commission, and Captain America just keeps getting back up. Just like when he fought Iron Man, just like, his superpower is just never giving up, no matter what. That's the thing. Because he has super soldier serum, he has the endurance. He can get knocked down. I mean, think about it. His superpower is a shield. What does that tell you? Or a superpower. His weapon is a shield. So what does that tell you? That like the shield, a good character design will tell you everything you need to know about a character without even talking to that character or learning anything about him. So Captain America, the fact he has a shield should tell you he's about defense. He's about endurance. He can take a hit and get back up. So even though, Captain America or Iron Man and Thor might be stronger, Captain America just keeps getting back up. And his shield is getting fucking destroyed. And not only is his shield all ripped to shreds and beat to shit, but so is he. He's bloody as fuck. He's probably going to die. Like, that next moment, he probably would, if Thanos just charged him, Thanos probably would have just fucking killed him. But what's awesome about that is he's just like, I don't fucking care. I don't care. We're doing this. And I was like, damn it. And a lot of people were predicting that Captain America was going to die in this movie. I actually predicted what really happened. I actually predicted that Captain America wasn't going to die, but he would like kind of retire in a different way. and the way he did it, which was where he went to the past and spent time with the girl he loved, that's exactly what I predicted. But the thing is that at that moment, I was like, dude, Captain America might die right here. And I think a lot of people thought that. I think a lot of people were like, damn, Thanos is about to fucking kill Captain America. And then Iron Man's going to have this big, moment where Iron Man goes, no! And like charges him. But the thing is, this is the amazing pacing of that final fight scene. This is the pacing that is so fucking good about that movie. Is that fight went on long enough and was entertaining enough to suck you in and make you forget that the Hulk brought people back. When he snapped his fingers, when the Hulk snapped his fingers, we already got confirmation that Hawkeye's family was back. Okay, we knew it. We knew they were back. Wasp was back too because I think someone was calling Ant-Man. I didn't actually watch Ant-Man and Wasp, but someone was calling Ant-Man. So someone important in Ant-Man's life, was calling him. I'm pretty sure it was Wasp, but I could be wrong. I've only seen the movie once. I do want to go see it again because it was amazing. But yeah, Captain America was totally, at that moment, you're like, he's either going to die or something's going to happen here. And the thing is, some people might say, oh, it was lame, like all the superheroes just came. No, it's not lame. The way they set it up was perfect. Because again, people were probably expecting Cap to die right there. And instead, that's when everyone showed up. That's when Sam, aka Falcon, was calling him, saying, "You there?" He's like, "We're bringing him back up." And then you start to see this like light open up, and for a second, like in the background, that's Doctor Strange opening a portal, and Doctor Strange is like instantly bringing everyone there. He's just like, "I don't give a fuck." He's like, "We're coming. We're coming." Like Doctor Strange, Wong, all of his students, they're all like coming. The entire Wakandan army, not just talking about Black Panther's army, but like the united armies of all the different tribes in Wakanda all together. You had like all of these characters. I can't like name all of them, but I'm pretty sure there was some of the Asgardians were there too. Like you had all of these freaking characters, and it wasn't just the superheroes. It was this all-out war. Like even Valkyrie from Thor Ragnarok was there, and she was in the movie earlier too. But it's just everyone was there, everyone, and it was like, and that's what was awesome was when Captain America said Avengers Assemble, he was commanding the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, not just like all the superheroes. When he said that, it was so amazing because it kind of, people say Iron Man's the leader of the Avengers, but Captain America is the leader of the Avengers. It's just that Iron Man's like the main character. And so when he did that, it was really this awesome moment where it felt like when you have Captain America himself saying Avengers Assemble, and it's the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's just a fucking beautiful moment. And the fact that he was literally about to die a second ago, and he just gets a second wind, and Chris Evans' performance with that Avengers Assemble moment, she looked fucking pissed. You don't normally see Captain America that pissed off in these movies. He looked fucking pissed. He looked like he was ready to kill Thanos. So this was just, I could not have asked for a better scene. This is probably my favorite, like, grand scale epic battle. Like when you compare the Lord of the Rings and all those movies, this is probably my favorite large scale battle I've ever seen. Like it was just amazing, and it was fan servicey, don't get me wrong, and I don't even want to talk about the fourth wall breaking female empowerment pandering scene. I didn't particularly like that, but I asked some of my friends if they felt insulted, and they didn't feel insulted by it. They said they actually felt empowered by it. And so you know what, if people like it, then I'm fine. As long as people liked it. If I talked to a bunch of people and I realized that a bunch of women didn't like that scene that was really pandering to women, because to me, I thought it was so obvious that it lost all of its effect, But I will say this about the women characters. Scarlet Witch is one of my favorite characters, and Civil War did her right. I think she was, she was a big part of why I love Civil War. But she got shafted in Infinity War so bad. And that's the thing. Another reason why I like this movie more than Infinity War is that some of my favorite characters I feel like really got shafted. Like Loki, shafted. Gamora, she's probably my favorite member of the Guardians team, shafted. Um, when you then it comes to Scarlet Witch, I love that character. I love like female like mage style characters, and her powers are a little bit different than how they're supposed to be in the comics. But I'm kind of okay with how they established her in Civil War, and so I was really excited, like the fact that she just completely bodied Thanos, the fact that she's like wrecked his shit by herself, just beating the living shit out of him. I love that scene. That was awesome, and the fact that she was like, she's like, you remember me? You took everything from me. And he's like, I don't even know you. And then she's like, oh, you're about to fucking know me. Because when you fucked up, your future self fucked up thinking he could, do that to me. And so she just fucking wrecked his shit. It was awesome. That's exactly what I wanted to see. It was everything I asked for. Um, Captain Marvel is really OP. For the most part, this movie, when you walk into this movie, you think Captain Marvel is going to be a big part of defeating Thanos. And right off the bat, she joins up with the team. And I was like, what? I thought she was like the key to beating him. And basically, off the bat, she's like, you didn't have me. Now you have me. And I was like, clearly, they're not going to kill Thanos right off the bat. And when they find him, he's like, there's no stones. And then Thor beheads him. And I was like, oh, so, yeah. So this is not, like, so Captain Marvel is not the key to victory. Like, there's an actual, like, they can't, it's not about being just strong. That's not what this is about. It's not about just being strong. So basically, brute force doesn't work. They don't get the stones back. They can't reverse time. They can't just do a new snap and bring everyone back. So the plan's ruined. And Captain Marvel didn't do shit in this movie. She helped in the beginning to go kill Thanos, and then she didn't do fucking shit. She didn't do fucking shit the whole fucking movie. And then she just kind of pops back in for the last battle, which is fine, because it's like, okay, like, she has every reason and every right to want to kill Thanos, you know. But, yeah, so they go, so she's there, and she's mostly OP, which is, again, fine, because that's kind of like her thing, is that she's just really fucking OP. That's kind of like her thing. But again, people say, like, she's the most OP character, but it's like, yeah, but Thor is fucking, like, Doctor Strange and Thor are kind of both also really fucking OP. So it's not like it's that big a deal. Like, also, I mean, I like it when there's multiple OP characters, because it's like the villains have to give a good enough reason for making Thor team up with these other heroes. And even Iron Man's fucking OP. And I mean, he wasn't OP in Iron Man 1 and Avengers 1. He wasn't. But in, like, Infinity War, Iron Man was OP as fuck. He was so OP. So it's like, again, yes, Captain Marvel can, like, fly through a spaceship and destroy it. That's really OP. Don't get me wrong. She's on a level above all these characters. But at the end of the day, they're all fucking OP. So who cares? they're all like way too strong. It's ridiculous. So who cares? Anyway, yeah. So oh yeah, again, like, even though Captain Marvel like beats the shit out of Thanos, again, so does Scarlet Witch, and that's how it should be. They all should be beating the living shit out of him, but because he commands an army, he can find ways to slip out and go through. My main problem with the final battle was that it was mostly just everyone taking turns walloping and beating the shit out of Thanos. But to me, I just think it was very satisfying, and I didn't care. And it made sense that they all took turns one-on-one, because it was a grand scale battle, so everyone who you didn't see fighting Thanos was probably fighting someone else. When Captain Marvel landed next to Spider-Man, and she took the gauntlet, I really liked that scene, because he doesn't know her, but he's like, yep, I trust you. And he just didn't, that was fine. But what got my nerves was like the pandering scene right after, where every single female hero stood in a huge line together, and it was just such an obvious like we're supposed to clap here moment, like clap for women's rights. And to me, it just felt like such it was fourth wall breaking, and I don't want my fourth wall broken. Like literally, you could feel female empowerment without that scene. like but I think that scene, I think a lot of people did like that scene, so I'm trying not to harp on it too much. It's just, to me, it felt so out of place, and it honestly like really tainted the whole final battle. But I think it's fine for the most part, because I guess some people just really need it spelled out for them. But like, in my opinion, it's kind of like, it's also useful for me, because when people say like everything's sexist all the fucking time, I can just be like, I can just show them that clip now and be like, oh, this is sexist with all of these heroes. Like, how, you keep saying there's no female heroes. Here's all the female heroes. Here's all the female main characters. Here's like, shut up. It's like, shut up. We have so many. You're not a fan. When you say that stuff, you're not an actual fan. And women love Marvel. I don't like, almost that was not the case for a long time. I remember when Civil War was out, trying, like, a lot of my friends who were girls were like just getting into it and saying like, I was just kind of dragged there, but honestly, it was really funny, and I liked it just because it was funny. And Civil War is on Netflix, and I think a lot of people ended up watching Civil War because of Netflix and stuff like that. And one of my friends told me she basically just watched all the ones on Netflix because she was bored, and because she ended up watching one of them and liked it and didn't think she was gonna like it, but she did, and then it's like, and then now she's excited for Endgame, and so it's like that's the thing. It's like people are starting to like these movies more, and I think that the female fan base is huge, and for a lot of them, it started with the original Avengers movie. And for me, when the first Avengers movie came out, that felt like an event. That felt like nothing had ever been like that before. Like when I saw Avengers 1, I was like, this is going to change everything. Like, and then when I saw Avengers 2, I was like, oh no, never mind. It made it, Avengers 1 set the bar really high. And then when I saw Infinity War, Avengers 3, I was like, and well, even Civil War, I remember being like, okay, the bar has been set higher again. Like, Marvel is kicking ass. So yeah. And yeah, it was just amazing. And I mean, there's a clear difference what they do versus what DC does. Like, this is how you do it. But also, let's talk about probably my favorite character in this whole entire movie, Nebula. And if you don't know why, like, I say like my favorite Guardians character is Gamora, it's because I like tragic characters, and I definitely like tragic characters who redeem themselves and turn things around. Gamora doesn't. I mean, a lot of people would say Gamora's not a tragic character. Thing is, the entire cast of the Guardians team, all of them are tragic. And probably my favorite moment of any of the Marvel movies is when Drax is talking about his family and how he misses his wife, and Mantis touches him to feel his emotions, and she instantly starts crying, and he's like, "Yeah, that's how it's like. That's how I feel on the inside. But I'm a warrior. I'm a soldier." And to me, it's just like, that's just one of the most amazing things I've seen in a movie, where they really show exactly. It just gives a whole nother dimension to the character of Drax. It was really, really well done. To me, I often, for the longest time, I thought Guardians 1 was my favorite, and lately I've been having because people don't like Guardians 2, okay? People really don't like that movie. And I remember when people liked it when it first came out, and I was like, why do people like this? And then when I watched it again, a lot of those moments really hit me a lot harder, and I started to realize like what the movie was going for and why it works so well and why people liked it so much. It really is a touching, sweet movie. It's a touching, sweet little movie. And yeah, it's Guardians 1 and 2 are probably my two favorite Marvel movies. Honestly, I love those characters. But again, they're all tragic characters, except maybe Groot. But Groot dies and has reborn as a baby, which is kind of tragic in a way, but all of them are tragic. All the characters are tragic. And it's pushed back even further. It's pushed even further because like when they meet Mantis in 2, she's also very tragic. And when Yondu basically joins and teams up with them because he's not part of like his whole team's been destroyed basically. When he teams up with the Guardians, it's like he's a really tragic character too. And so everyone kind of finds their home and finds their place within the Guardians. And I really like that. I really like that idea of like they're a family. And so when I see Gamora die and she's finally actually kissing Star Lord, they're actually like dating. They weren't even in like Guardians 2, it was kind of implied and hinted at that she likes him a lot more, but they weren't like together. And in Infinity War, they really are like together. And so seeing them really happy, and like everything's working out, and then seeing that ripped away, that does piss me off. Now I know what it's trying to do. It's trying to give me the sense of dread. It's trying to make me feel sad. But at the same time, when sometimes it's cheap. Sometimes it's just cheap, especially when it's taking the happiness from another movie and ripping it away, and it's like, no, come on. It's like, no, come on. That movie was good that way. I don't want. Basically, it's I don't know. I'm not hating on Infinity War. I'm just saying it kind of feels a little cheap sometimes. So why do I like Nebula the most in this movie? After all, she joined the Guardians in Guardians 2 as well. Nebula and Mantis were both part of the team now. Nebula is possibly the most tragic of all the characters. Obviously she was tortured far worse than Gamora was, and she has it's like Stockholm syndrome. She's been manipulated beyond belief. Her father has, not only does he manipulate her mind, but he manipulates her body. Like, she's got machines inside of her. And seeing her, like, finally be happy and being like, I have my sister with me, and she's like, all I need is to be with my sister and stuff like that. The scene where she kills the past version of herself, that was like the Vegeta suicide moment. That was amazing. Like, that was so fulfilling to see. And I know it's weird, like, killing your past self. But the thing is that this isn't about, like, this isn't about, like, if you kill your past self, you die. It's not like Mortal Kombat 11 rules. The rules are, like, basically, it's just multiverse theory. So, basically, all this means is that the universe that Thanos came from is going to be a lot different now, because Thanos is never going to be in that Marvel universe. So what they did was they fixed their universe by using the time stones, or by using the Infinity Stones from the past, and then they returned those stones to the past so it wouldn't completely ruin their future, like that the other timeline. Which is a very Marvel Comics thing to do. That's the thing. This movie, every movie, it always feels closer to the comics. And this one was so Marvel comic-y to the point where if you like these concepts, hey, you might like fucking comic books. So all these people who used to make fun of comic books, it's like, hey, this is very Marvel Comics. This is exactly what Marvel Comics is like. So if you like that concept of like multiverse theory and all that stuff, you should be reading the Marvel Comics, okay? Trust me. Or at least you should stop making fun of people who do, because clearly you like it just as much. You just didn't want to read it. You didn't want to like read it when it's got like illustrations of like little cartoon people. You didn't want that, okay? And that's fine if you think that's lame and that's not for you, but you have to at least show respect to the story and source material, because these are not like just traditional movies. Star Wars was a movie made by a guy. And then like a huge writing crew that all came together to make these masterpiece movies. Lord of the Rings was based off of these famous books that were considered to be legends, and they were adapted pretty damn well. These were not based off novels. These were also not just really great movie ideas. These are based off comic books and taking the stories into their own direction, almost in a Game of Thrones approach, where it starts out very similar to the source material and then dives off deeper and deeper into its own thing, where these characters exist in their own established version of the Marvel universe, to the point where it's like there's the Marvel universe, there's the Ultimate Marvel universe, and then there's like the cinematic universe. So yeah, the cinematic universe is fucking good. And yes, so when Nebula kills her past self, it's literally her Vegeta suicide moment where she can identify and see the actual literal manifestation of her aiming a gun at her sister, and she's possibly about to pull the trigger, and she's like, I will not let you, I will not lose my sister again. I will not. And she's like, and me in the past, I know what me in my past is like, and let me tell you, like she was this kind of person. She was not ready to make the kind of decisions that I'm making right now. Very powerful scene. Very powerful scene. But you know what? It goes to show that it's never too late for you. You can always change and become a better person. And you could Nebula, her character growth through these movies has probably been the most. She's probably the most transformation of anyone. So, for me personally, I'm the idea of having no Gamora makes me so upset. But as long as Nebula stays a part of this series, I will be very happy, and I'll be very grateful. So, and that's what I'm thinking. Also, I'm thinking Gamora is the only person of the entire Thanos fleet that didn't die. So I'm thinking that I'm hoping Gamora is still alive and didn't get turned to ash or something. But I'm really, really hoping that and if she did, then well, the only person who could do the snap again would be the Hulk, and his arms all fucked up from doing the snap. So yeah, they definitely have established that you can't just abuse the Infinity Stones. Once you use them, it completely destroys your body. So, and when Iron Man did it, I mean, look, I mean, I even need to say that? I know this is the spoilers. Obviously, I'm spoiling the shit out of everything. But do I even need to say anything? And the reason why I'm talking about the spoilers again, because I'm not just saying, "Isn't this cool? Isn't this cool?" No, these moments are extremely significant, and I just want to point out why I like this movie more than Endgame. And I don't think my opinion is going to change, because I remember when Endgame came out, my opinion was pretty much, it was good, but I'm more excited for the next one. That was kind of my opinion at the time. But I respected the hell out of what they did with Thanos and made Thanos such an awesome character to the point where he's basically become a household name. But if you thought we're going to get more of that for Thanos, that's not really the point of these movies. These movies weren't yes, the last movie was about Thanos because Thanos was the winner. It's kind of if why would you make the movie about the heroes just to lose? So Thanos has to fight this huge army of different heroes, and he overcomes them step by step, and then eventually wins. And he's such a threat that you can't wait to see him lose. But there's no way to make him lose. You can't make him lose by just having Thor chop his head off at the end. It just wouldn't feel worthy at all. It would feel cheap. So because of what they wanted to do, they had to make Thanos win, and then they had to make Thanos. Basically had to do the story in two parts. There's no way, if they did that movie in only one part, if Avengers 3 was just one movie, it would not have had the satisfaction of the two movies. Those two movies together are two of the best Marvel movies ever, and if they were crammed into one movie, it would not be the two. It wouldn't be the these are the two best. These are two of the best Avengers movies. These are the two best Avengers movies, straight up. But they're two of the best Marvel movies, period. And as movies outside of superhero movies, these are beyond superhero movies. These are fucking blockbuster, fantastic, excellent movies that people should be seeing. These are eventful movies for all of our lives around the entire world, and they're so good. And I know some people could be cynical and saying, "Oh, they did two parts to stretch it out." No, if this was one movie, they would not have been nearly as effective. This is one of the only times where I've ever seen a movie be stretched to two parts, where it was literally more effective thanks to the fact that it was done in two parts. The only other time I could ever say that would probably be Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Because Star Wars, the fact that Star Wars is a trilogy has nothing to do with three movies is just a good idea. It has more because most I honestly think most movies the third movie for most movies are bad or they're like Thor Ragnarok where they're so different from the first two that they're really good but they have nothing to do with like the first two. Sort of like how the Evil Dead trilogy, the third one where Ash is in like a different timeline is so different from the other two Evil Dead movies that again, most movies are just like they only need two movies. You only need the first one and you need a really good sequel to give us more of these characters, add new dimensions to these characters, and then wrap up an even better story that ties up any possible loose end. A third movie is almost never necessary when it comes to a lot of these movies, unless it's like just to do something outlandish with these characters. Again, like how Thor Ragnarok did it, and if they ever did do a Ghostbusters 3, which I guess they are going to do a Ghostbusters 3, um, the fact if it was like way after the fact, way after the fact, then yeah, and then that could be a good thing. So, yeah. So, but most movies don't need three parters. So to me, it's almost like it's not like there's an Avengers trilogy. It's almost like there's the Avengers movies, part of this universe, and then there's Avengers 1 and 2, and then there's like this two-part movie event with Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, which have like which go back to back with each other and are made to be seen that way. So, well, I mean, obviously you can watch Ant-Man and Wasp and Captain Marvel in between them, but you could also watch Ant-Man and Wasp and Captain Marvel before them and be completely fine. Though my only concern would be, if you don't know about the snap already, then obviously Ant-Man and Wasp is going to spoil that for you. So, you should probably watch those first. But for the most part, as long as if you're gonna like rewatch them this series in any order, if you want to just watch Infinity War and then Endgame right after each other, you could. So in fact, you could even watch Civil War, then Infinity War, and then Endgame as a three-parter. You could basically just watch Avengers 1, then Civil War, then Infinity War, and then Endgame, and it's like, wow, that's fucking awesome. That sounds like a great ass night right there. So, yeah. So yeah, all I wanted to basically express was like, hey, people saying that Infinity War is better than this, just chill a little bit. It's okay. Because what Infinity War does is a lot different from what Endgame does. They're not made to be comparable or be the same movie. They're made to be very different experiences. So if you enjoyed that other kind of experience more, I think a lot of people are going who think Infinity War was like the best Marvel movie are going to still think it is, and there's nothing wrong with that because what Endgame does isn't trying to be like Infinity War, and I think most people who watch it can agree that if it was just trying to be like Infinity War again, that would have been really silly, especially if Thanos died while I was also trying to be like the story of Thanos. Like that could have been weird. So I'm really glad they went back to being like a more traditional Avengers movie, but also the way they executed this with the time traveling back to the past. This was like the ultimate celebration of all things Marvel, because basically they went back to the first Avengers movie, and they went back to Guardians of the Galaxy 1, which is fucking amazing. When I was playing the song again, I was like, man, I remember when Guardians 1 came out, how fucking awesome that was. Like, that movie was so damn good. To the point when I hear Come and Get Your Love, it always makes me in a really, really good mood. Any time. And I mean, I hear it a lot, because that song became a lot more popular after that movie came out. I mean, I won't say it became more popular, but I'll say it became more relevant. And I hear it a lot now, and every damn time I hear it. And I mean, at work, me and my coworkers will put on the Guardians soundtrack because we all like it. We all like have this camaraderie. Like all of us agree that Guardians is like some of the best Marvel movies. Like doesn't matter who you are. Some of us are older than some of the others. Some of us are like managers. Some of us are employees. Some of us are men. Some of us are women. Some of us are white. Some of us are black. And we all pretty much agree Guardians is like fucking insanely good. We all agree Guardians is like a step above the rest. And yeah, the music. We will listen to like the soundtrack at work, and we all like anytime I hear "Come and Get Your Love," it just makes me happy. It just reminds me of how good Guardians 1 was. It reminds me of Star-Lord and why I like that character, and when I think about Star-Lord, it makes me think about Gamora, and then when I think about Star-Lord and Gamora, I start to think about Drax and Raccoon and Groot, and then when I'm thinking about Drax, I'm thinking about Mantis, and when of course when I think about Gamora, I think about Nebula too. So it's like I just like all those characters. I just like those movies. Those are literally, it's like my favorite characters of all the Marvel movies are all in one team, and I just love those characters. I love that movie. So like when they go back to that timeline, it's fucking awesome. Um, Nebula being paired up with these characters, she's like so far from home. Like they didn't just pair her up with Rocket. They paired her up with like they paired Rocket up with Thor, which is great because them two being friends. What I loved is when they meet up with. It's like I can say so many good things about this fucking movie. I know it's been almost an hour, guys, but let me just say this again. When Thor talks, when they go meet up with Thor, Thor's been out of commission. He's just been gone. No one really knows where he is. Well, they know he's in New Asgard, but no one really knows like much about him, what he's doing. They're not really keeping tabs with him. And the people who go find him are Hulk and Rocket Raccoon. And it's just funny because it's like, well, Hulk spent all of Thor Ragnarok with Thor, and uh, Rocket Raccoon spent all of Infinity War with Thor. So these are like Thor's two friends. These are like Thor's like two best friends, basically. You know, like yes, he's friends with Captain America and Iron Man, but not as much as he is with Hulk, and not as much as he is with Rocket Raccoon. Like these are his friends. So like it's awesome. It's awesome that they did this stuff. And they paired Rocket Raccoon with him again. And that's why like it was really cool to see that Thor's like leaving on a spaceship with the Guardians, because it's like I don't think Thor and Star-Lord get along. I think they don't get along at all. And I think Star-Lord's going to want to kick him off immediately. And to be fair, you kind of the idea that Thor is going to be a big part of Guardians 3, that's kind of weird to me. I actually really hope he's not. I actually really hope that he's like in the beginning or something, but they drop him off after a while. I don't really want him to be a big part of it. Of course, he can show up here and there and then be in a... Thor can have like his moment where he redeems himself a little bit or something at the end. They could do something like that. But I would like if Guardians 3 still focused mainly on the Guardians and they kind of kept Thor doing something else. But yeah, it makes sense though because Thor and Rocket are friends now. I mean, that's just how it is. So, yeah. Really excited to see what they do with Guardians 3, and maybe it'll involve interacting with the past version of Gamora. I'm assuming she's alive, and it would make sense that she. But also, I don't think Nebula was on the ship. This is why I need to watch the movie again, see if Nebula and Gamora are in the background. It looked like it was just Mantis, Drax, and Rocket and Groot. But I gotta see if I gotta see like what's going on. I want to know like basically Guardians 3 will have to have like this portion of the movie dedicated to Nebula and Gamora and their adventures. And Gamora's probably gonna be going off doing mostly her own thing, but I do also want to see how Star-Lord moves on after all of this, like, and what's going to happen. It almost seems like any ending where he doesn't end up with Gamora again will make me upset, but I mean, I don't know if I want a whole movie about him trying to convince Gamora that they're in love, especially when they're supposed to be fighting someone, you know. So we'll have to see what we get. Maybe Gamora from the past will get put in trouble, and then Nebula will be like, we have to contact the Guardians of the Galaxy, and then Star-Lord will be like, yes, we get to help Gamora. Honestly, yeah, these movies kind of write themselves. But, yeah, I'm really excited for the future. But again, yeah, like I was saying, with these movies, they're all, every little nitpick, every little detail is just executed so well. The only problem is like when they write off characters, like they wrote off Captain Marvel, and it's like, okay, I know that like she had to go off and do other stuff in the universe, but it's like, what? Why couldn't you? I don't know. I guess they didn't really need her to go in the past and sneak around. That's not really her thing. Her thing is blowing shit up. So being like really OP. So I guess it didn't need her to go to the past. But the problem is that it didn't feel like she had much in common with all the other heroes. Like it felt like she didn't even know a lot of the other heroes, and like the fact she was like teaming up with them, to her it was just like, oh, these are the good guys, I'm on their side, versus like brothers in arms situations. Like when she was fighting Thanos by herself, it was almost like she's just going for the glory, or she just wants to get the kill because she thinks she's the strongest or only one who can, or she wants to prove herself or something, or basically prove that she's like an alpha male compared to everyone else. So it doesn't make me like her that much as a character, mainly because this is a movie about like a team. Um, but I mean, obviously, I don't know. It's not like she. It's not like she really. It was that bad. It's not like it was as bad as I'm saying. It was fine, but I just wish that Captain Marvel could have had a movie where she interacted with the characters more if that was what they were going to do. Because I thought that with Captain Marvel's movie being a prequel, that was going to be fine because she was going to be interacting with the heroes of this movie a lot more. And she didn't. She really didn't. She really didn't interact with the characters of this movie. So that was my main concern with her. That was my big problem with her. Besides that, though, yeah, this is my favorite Avengers movie. I liked it more than Infinity War, and I know some people are going to be upset with that opinion, but to me, there are two different styles of movies, and if you liked Infinity War more, that's fine. I still think Infinity War is probably one of the best things Marvel's ever done, so I'm not disagreeing with you when you say Infinity War is amazing. If you say Infinity War is amazing and a top tier movie and a movie beyond being a superhero movie and a movie that everyone should see and just is super epic and amazing and awesome, I agree with all those things. I am not saying the movie is bad. I'm just saying that personally I enjoyed Infinity or Endgame more than Infinity War because Endgame did more of the things I wanted to see. So, but I will say that Infinity War had a lot of character interactions that Endgame didn't have. You know, for example, Guardians 1 and 2 are probably my two favorite Marvel movies. I honestly, yeah, I think they are. Even though I think Guardians 2 isn't as strong as Guardians 1, I still probably think I like it more than any other Marvel movie. And I still think those movies are good, and you don't even need to watch a single other Marvel movie to like those two movies. Um, I just want to say, though, that, you know, Infinity War had the interactions with Star-Lord, Iron Man, and Doctor Strange, and I also really like Doctor Strange and Spider-Man. So, you know, seeing Iron Man interact with those characters, yeah, that was fucking awesome. And those were like by far some of the best scenes in the movie with when Iron Man and Star Lord were just giving each other shit. I loved every second of that. And at times there was times when Infinity War felt like it was Guardians 3. Like because the Guardians were so involved. You know, because Gamora is so important to Thanos, because Nebula is so important to Thanos, because Star-Lord cares so much about Gamora, because Rocket and Groot are teaming up with Thor, you know, in a lot of ways, it really did. And then, of course, Drax and Mantis are being the ultimate comic relief of the movie, saying the funniest lines of the movie, much like how they do in Guardians 2, really showing, like, how those two are really, really funny pair. And I'm glad that it's like kind of those two as a pair. And I hope that if they ever go off on their own adventures, it's those two, at least those two together, because they're just hilarious together. And also in Guardians 2, they had that really touching moment where Drax says like, "You're not ugly," and that made me like really, really happy, almost teared up. And then he said like on the inside, which made me laugh really hard. But it's just like, it was still really sweet of him to say that. So like, those movies are just so good, and so yeah, Infinity War has that over Endgame. So at the end of the day, yeah, there's things I like about Infinity War, far more about Endgame. But I have to say, like, what Endgame did with the time travel stuff, which I mean, whatever, the time travel is not like the most fascinating thing in the world, but because it's just such a celebration of past Marvel movies. Yes, this is a fan service movie. But I don't care. There's like over 20 of these movies. It's been over 10 years. You know, it's been like 11 years since Iron Man 1. Like, let me just fucking indulge in this and be happy and enjoy it. As a comic book fan, as a fan of these movies, a fan of these actors, a fan of these directors, I'm a big fan of the Russo brothers. Are you kidding me? Captain America 2, Captain America 3 Civil War? Are you kidding me? Infinity War? Are you kidding me? Endgame? Those are like four of the best fucking Marvel movies. Those movies are so fucking good. Are you kidding me? And it also helps that the directors of Captain America 2 and 3 took over Avengers and then started putting, some more emphasis on our boy Captain America. You know, it's like that was the original project, the original bread and butter. So, yes, And that's another thing. This movie, the amount of love they showed Captain America, just felt right. And that's the thing. I feel like the balance between Iron Man and Captain America is hard, but you have to show them both a tremendous amount of love. This movie got it right. This movie gave Captain America the appropriate amount of screen time that Infinity War did not give him. And that's the thing. While you can say, well, Infinity War is amazing because they made this movie with so many characters and it wasn't a total clusterfuck, I agree. And Endgame cheapened out because they used way less characters. But because they used way less characters, they had a lot more detail with these characters, and it was very nice. And also, let's not forget that these characters aren't going to be in the next movies. Hawkeye, probably not going to see him again. Black Widow, definitely not going to see her again. Well, there's talks of a Black Widow movie. It'll probably be a spin-off. It'll probably be a prequel, and it probably won't have anything to do with anything in the next phase. If it does, it'll be like how Captain Marvel set things up for things. Basically, Captain Marvel kind of set things up for Avengers 1 in some weird way. But basically, what will happen is, I'm hoping that Black Widow would set something up for like a MacGuffin for the next big baddie, that it'll basically introduce us to something that will come up later. But Black Widow is definitely not going to be a part of Phase 4 as part of like teaming up in a big. Basically, whenever they do make the next Avengers movie, it's not going to have anything to do with Black Widow. Um, so that's, yeah, Captain America, Iron Man, Black Widow, Hawkeye. Those four are gone. There's a strong chance if we get Hulk, he'll be in more of a scientific position. He won't be in the same superhero position he's normally in. If there's a huge chance that if we get Thor, he'll be more of a mentor position. There's not a guarantee that he'll be in a combat position like he's used to have been, you know. So, yeah. I will say this movie does fuck up one thing. They make Thor a joke, too much of a joke. I think I've heard some people complain about this, how he's too much of a joke. I've heard fangirls complain about how he's not hot anymore, but he is a little bit too much of a joke. I mean, it's funny. It's fucking hilarious. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like there was a time when it was appropriate, and a time where he should have got more serious. And by the end of the movie, that he still looked ridiculous. He never like cleaned up. He never, muscled back up, bulked back up. So, and I know they're trying to make it realistic. Some people said it would have been cheap if he just lightning struck him and his body was like chiseled again. But also, like, when I think about Thor, I don't think about a guy lifting weights. I think about Thor, I'm like, he's a god. He just looks like that. you know. But I'm hoping they make him a little bit more fit and a little bit more in shape by the next movie, because yeah, you can't just have Thor be fat from now on. Anyway, so yeah, so I don't know what we're going to get in these next movies. If you think we're going to get a movie where like it's literally like Falcon's the team leader and Valkyrie's got Thor's powers, and like so some people did complain about this. They complained like they're not excited for the next Marvel movie. Some people said they're not excited for the next set of Marvel movies because they're not excited to see Falcon as Captain America. They're not excited to see Pepper Potts as Iron Man. They're not excited to see and what the thing is that these characters they're not main character material. If there's another Avengers movie, it's going to be about Black Panther, Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange, and Spider-Man. That's going to be the next big four. Instead of being about Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, and the Hulk, it's going to be about these four. And of course, what this movie did right was they had Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor were the three who fought. They were the three who fought Thanos by themselves at first, because those are the three who had their original own. They're the ones who had their own movies. Like Hulk had his own movie, but not really. So like Hulk, even though it's like, to me the Avengers is about the big four, the reality is that when you watch it, it's like actually about the five of them, and really even the six of them when you count Nick Fury. It's not about the four of them. It's about Black Widow and Hawkeye as well, and those characters were always just side characters from Avengers. So it's like, it's not like, yeah. Anyway, what I'm basically trying to say is the next set of movies will probably be about. It probably won't even have the Guardians again. And to be fair, having the Guardians in the Avengers movies, it's amazing for that for Infinity War, and it's amazing for Endgame. But I don't want them to just be a part of that team forever. Like if Rocket wanted to stay on Earth, that's one thing. But I would rather have the Guardians still doing their own thing, and have those characters not come back every time Earth is threatened. It just doesn't make sense for them to care about Earth like that. So like it was really smart to keep them out of Avengers 2 and keep Guardians separate until Infinity War, because Guardians was really just setting up Thanos in a big way, because Ronan was a soldier from Thanos. That was like the big deal of the movie. So that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping Guardians can kind of stay its own thing. So what I'm thinking is the next Avengers will be, like I said, Captain Marvel. I don't know if she'll be the leader. If she is, that could be a good movie because, like I said, I want to see her interact with these people, and I don't think anyone would have any respect for her. I think Spider-Man would be polite to her, but I think that Black Panther would be like, "Fuck you, bitch! Shut the fuck up." I think Doctor Strange would be like, "I'm not. I don't have to listen to you," and she'd like be like, "Oh yeah," and she'd like power up her fist and shoot a laser, and he'd be like, "I'm not impressed by that. I don't care," and she's like, "Shit! Every time I want to look cool, I just do something cool and show that I'm really OP and people respect me," and Doctor Strange would be like, "Bitch, I don't give a fuck," and Black Panther would be like, "I don't give a fuck either." So Spider-Man would probably be the only one being polite because and only because he's like a kid. He's like, "Look, you just have to be a real leader." Like, so, and I think that Black Panther and Doctor Strange don't want to follow. I think they would want to be leaders. So the idea that they would have to follow someone else, honestly, I don't think Captain Marvel's leader material. I really don't. So, but the thing is, Black Panther shouldn't really be a leader either. He's kind of like Black Panther. Really, he's more like an honorary Avenger. Like he's going to help the heroes defend Earth, but he's more, he cares more about doing his own thing. So to me, I kind of like that Black Panther. I honestly, I want to see Black Panther 2. I want to see Spider-Man 2. I want to see Captain Marvel 2. I want to see Doctor Strange 2. All of these movies need to happen before we get another Avengers movie. So that's the exciting part. Is that we're talking at least 2, 3, or 4 years. I'm thinking 3 or 4 years. I'm thinking 4 years to the next Avengers movie. I think they're going to do a slow build up to bring it back, and because if they do it too soon, it won't be nearly as powerful. So I think we're going to get a lot of content to work with before we finally move on to the next one. So yeah, I'm really expecting that. That's what I'm really hoping for. And remember, Avengers 1, the villain was Loki, and Loki was a side character in Thor who basically became a good guy later. So let's remember that. Let's remember that Avengers 1, when they all teamed up for the first time, it was basically just to fight Loki, who was normally just a villain that Thor could take on by himself, but Loki was kind of superpowered and powered up by a bigger threat. So I don't want them to completely copy that and just do like a familiar threat. But it would be nice if it was something like, maybe if it was like a Spider-Man villain, but what Spider-Man villain could be that big of a threat? Like Loki was a god. So really, maybe it should be a Doctor Strange villain, but then how do characters like Black Panther fight, and Spider-Man, how do those two fight a villain of that magnitude? And then when it comes to Black Panther and Captain Marvel, well, then they're not popular villains. So what they really need to do is start introducing a little bit of Fantastic Four, start introducing a little bit of the fucking X-Men, okay? Now they do that, if Magneto was the villain, that could be a big deal. Like if Magneto or Juggernaut or something was the villain, and that's what they all teamed up for, now that could be something special. That could be something really fucking cool. So I'm not exactly sure what they're going to do for the next one. I know a lot of people are banking on Fantastic Four and X-Men, but in my opinion, it might be a little bit. In fact, that stuff might not even be started. We don't. Fuck, man. I don't know when that's gonna happen. I just hope it. I just hope it does. So, and it seems like it's very likely, but we'll have to see. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and leave this up here and open it up here. And I don't, if you, like I said, I don't think this video will trigger anyone, make someone upset. This is just me saying why I like the movie. If you didn't like the movie, I don't actually want to hear about it. I don't actually want you to comment if you're just going to say you don't like this movie and you think my opinions are wrong, because to me, I'm like, there's no arguing with this. I think this logic is too sound, so I really don't care. But if you liked the movie more than Infinity War, go ahead and say so. But if you liked Infinity War more, and you think this video may have helped you enjoy Endgame, and now you kind of want to watch it again, that's fine. Because when I first saw Guardians 2, I didn't like it. And when I saw it again, I realized it's probably my favorite Marvel movie besides Guardians 1. So it's fine if you watch a movie and you don't like it the first time. You might like it the next time. So I'm going to end it here. And basically, I just don't want people to just completely shit on this movie, because I'm just not going to accept that. I love this movie. So anyway, that's my thoughts. And that's why I think Endgame is better than Infinity War. I'll catch you guys on next.